He said, "If you feel like you need to be on your own for a while, you need to be on your own." This made it even harder. A. Garten once looked back on her journey with a mix of pride and amazement. "I knew I wanted to do something meaningful. I knew I wanted to be my own boss." Looking back, it seems like it was somewhere between brave and completely crazy, but I'm so grateful I took the plunge. Ina has become known as the culinary fairy godmother to millions thanks to her contagious warmth, humor, and sophisticated yet comforting recipes. But behind her glowing persona is a deeper, more poignant story full of hidden sadness and loss that not many people know about. The beautiful exterior of the beloved Barefoot Contessa hides a woman who has faced life's challenges with grace and strength, inspiring a huge following with her strength in the face of hardship. Before we get into the more painful parts of Ina's life, let's take a closer look at her early years. She was born Ina Rosenberg in Brooklyn, New York, to Jewish parents. Her family's roots go back to Russia, where before settling in America, her grandparents immigrated from. She grew up in Stamford, Connecticut, as the youngest of two siblings. Her childhood was shaped by the stark differences in her family. Her father, Charles H. Rosenberg, was a skilled surgeon and oenologist, and her mother, Florence, worked as a nutritionist. The Rosenberg family had some bad times, even though they were successful at work. Charles's abusive behavior cast a heavy shadow over the family, making it a painful place for Ina to grow up. When Ina Garten thought back on her childhood, she realized that despite the problems she was having in her personal life, she was always driven to do well in school. Her deep interest in science became a defining passion that would later fuel her culinary creativity in unexpected ways. Ina's mother, a scholar who loved opera, told her to focus only on her education, keeping her away from housework and domestic duties. Ina often says that her father is a social dynamico, a trait she shared more with him than with her quieter mother. While her parents initially questioned her decision to become a chef, they eventually came around. People encouraged her because they saw how determined she was. When she was 15, she met Jeffrey Garten while visiting her brother at Dartmouth College. He would become her lifelong partner. After high school, A went to Syracuse University to study economics and then continued her education at the George Washington University School of Business. In 1968, just before the holidays, A and Jeffrey got married. Before going to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where Jeffrey was stationed as part of his military service during the Vietnam War. While Jeffrey was away fulfilling his 4-year military commitment, Ina found comfort and purpose in the kitchen, trying out new recipes and hosting dinner parties. Events that sparked her interest in French cooking and helped her get her pilot's license. After Jeffrey finished his military service, she and Jeffrey went on a 4-month camping trip around Europe, which included a stop in France that sparked her interest in French cooking. This trip also introduced her to the lively atmosphere of outdoor markets. At that time, she was getting ready for something big, and she jumped at the chance. When she got back to the U.S., A focused on improving her cooking skills by studying the recipes of Julia Child and Simone Beck's Lazius Behold. Especially their popular cookbook, Mastering the Art of French Culinary. Having dinner parties every week became a popular thing to do. Tradition during this time, and Ina improved her hostess skills after she and her husband moved to Washington, D.C. in 1972. Now, let's look at how she became famous. Garten worked in the White House, while Jeffrey was at the State Department and later earned a Ph.D. in philosophy from the Johns Hopkins School of Advanced Internship Studies. In the end, she became a budget analyst in the White House Office of Management and Budget, where she was in charge of making the nuclear energy budget and writing policy papers on nuclear centrifuge plants for Presidents Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter. Garten chose to study cooking and hospitality skills while working at Ulm and also buy and fix up old buildings in Karama's DuPont Circle with the money she made. The money she made from these real estate deals was put into her next business, the Barefoot Contessa boutique food shop. Barefoot Contessa Garten quit her job with the government in 1978 after seeing an ad for a 4,000 square foot specialty food business in West called Barefoot Contessa. After 4 years, she thought that working in Washington was intellectually stimulating and exciting, but it wasn't right for her. She also thought that giving herself and her husband more freedom had made their marriage stronger, since their previous arrangement with Jeffrey as head of the house had become too suffocating and required a short separation. After visiting the store, she moved to New York and often worked 12-hour days. The store's name comes from a 1954 movie starring Ava Gardner, which Garten kept because it fit her vision of a refined yet down-to-earth way of life. Surprisingly, Garten hadn't seen the movie until 2006. After 3 years, Garten moved Barefoot Contessa to a bigger space on the other side of Main Street, and in 1985 she moved it to the old Dean and Ducker Med Shop location in East Hampton. In contrast to West Hampton's summer beach scene, East Hampton has people living there all year, which means Garten grew the business by more than 7 times in this bigger space, from 400 ft 37 square met to almost 3,000 ft 280 sm. The new store sold gourmet foods like lobster Cobb salad, caviar, exotic cheeses, and locally grown vegetables. As the business grew, Garten hired local cooks and bakers like Anna Pump, who bought both loaves and fishes in the end. Steven Spielberg and other famous people have praised the specialty food store and the Bridgehampton Inn on social media. After 20 years of running Barefoot Contessa Garten, she decided to change things up and sold the business to her employees, Amy Force and Parker Hodges, while still owning the property. When she wasn't sure what her next professional move would be, she decided to take a year off from working in the food industry and set up an office above the store. During this time, she focused on studying the stock market and coming up with business ideas for the future. At the same time, her website Barefoot Contessa became popular when she started selling her coffees and other items online in 2003. Nancy Myers, a filmmaker, was interested in a meeting site in East Hampton and used it as a filming location for the movie Something's Gotta Give starring Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton. The business closed in 2003 when the lease ran out, and Garten, the owner of the building, and the new owner couldn't come to an agreement on how to reopen it. Garten chose not to do so, but kept the property in case it could be used in the future. Renters by 2024, the space will be occupied by a rag and bone store undergoing rebranding. Gaston's career took a new turn in 1999 when she turned her attention to publishing. She improved the Barefoot Contessa brand by releasing the Barefoot Contessa cookbook in 1999, which was an unexpected hit. This book far exceeded Garten, Clark, and Potter's expectations because it included the recipes that helped her shop succeed. Gaston sold over 100,000 copies of the cookbook in its first year. As soon as the first 25,000 copies were sold out, more were printed. Barefoot Contest Parties came out in 2001 to great reviews and sales, and Barefoot Contessa Family Style followed in 2002. Both the cookbook and parties were nominated for James Beard Awards in 2000 and 2002 for entertaining and special occasion cookbooks. Garten's lack of experience at parties was surprising compared to well-known candidates like Jacques Peen and Brian St. Pierre in the culinary world. Ina Garten, who is known for her Barefoot Contessa brand, has left a lasting impression with her volumes, which are known for their bright colors and photographs. Every recipe is carefully paired with a huge graphic, making it visually appealing and interesting to readers. Despite criticism that focusing on photographs takes away from specific recipes and directions, garden cookbooks have generally gotten good reviews. In 2005, fellow chef and Gata Doran, a TV star, has said that Garden is one of her favorite authors, which shows how highly she is regarded in the food industry. By 2023, Garten will have written 13 cookbooks that have sold more than 14 million copies, which shows how famous she is and how popular her food is. Her dishes are often praised for being complicated and fancy, with the New Yorker referring to. Garten was called the queen of tastefully used butter fat in America. This comment sums up Garten's unique cooking style, which often uses rich ingredients to make her dishes taste better. But not all responses were positive. In 2010, the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine raised concerns about Garten's cookbook Barefoot Contessa, which included high-calorie, high-cholesterol meat and dairy dishes. The group ranked it one of 5 of the worst cookbooks of the year for nutrition, which started a debate about the balance between cooking for fun and cookbook writers' duty to encourage healthier eating. After facing criticism, Felton of the Wall Street Journal defended Garten, calling the article an attack on recipes that go beyond lentils. This statement emphasizes the conflict. Finally, Garten's recipe books continue to inspire home cooks with their appealing layouts and delicious flavors, all while tackling the modern nutritional issues. How did she move up in her career while improving the taste of food? Garten rose to fame through her cookbooks and TV appearances on Martha Stewart's show. She reached the peak of her career in 2012 when she started her own Food Network show, which followed the success of her Barefoot Contessa cookbook and parties. Food Network asked her to be on a cooking show. Garten's first attempt to work with Stewart's production company failed in 2000 because she couldn't handle the large TV crew and strict schedule. However, when Pacific, a London-based production company known for Nigella Bites, offered a show with a smaller staff and a more relaxed atmosphere, she agreed to be on it for 13 episodes. The season ended with the successful premiere of Barefoot Contessa in 2002. Barton's spouse and their circle of friends are frequently featured on the show, with celebrities who are personally acquainted with her being the most common guests. Barefoot Contessa averages over 1 million viewers every episode, contributing to some of the Food Network's highest ratings ever. In 2005, the series was in 2009 for Best Service Show. That same year, both the show and Garten were nominated for Daytime Emmy Awards again, this time for Best Culinary Program and Best Culinary Host. Garten won her first Emmy in the latter category that same year. Garten also announced that she had signed a 3-year deal with the Food Network to keep hosting her cooking show. Reports say she won the most expensive deal for a culinary author to date, with a multi-million-dollar deal for several publications. This was despite getting multiple offers to start her own magazine, furniture line, cookware collection, and chain of stores similar to Martha Stewart's Omnimia Garden, but they were turned down because of she doesn't want to make her life even more complicated. In 2023, her book Barefoot Contessa Goes to Dinner sold over 800,000 copies and was #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. In 2022, Garten started the show Be My Guest on Discovery and the Food Network, where she hosts famous people at her home. In 2006, she became a famous food expert known for her easy-to-follow cooking methods and best-selling publications. Started a new project with her partner Frank Newold. They came up with the idea of the Barefoot Contessa Pantry, a unique line of prepared foods. This innovative idea was made possible by working with Stonewall Kitchen, a well-known company that specializes in gourmet foods. In addition to the grocery store, the Barefoot Contessa Pantry Collection was made to make Garden's famous homemade recipes easier for a wider audience to access without sacrificing quality. The products available included a range of delicious dishes that, reflecting Garden's cooking ideals like sweet coconut cupcakes, savory mango chutney, and tangy lemon curd. Each item was made to evoke the comforting and familiar feelings of homemade food, making it easier for customers to recreate those beloved flavors at home. However, the higher prices of these items were due to their high-quality standards, extravagant features. For example, it was suggested that a box of brownie mix be sold for $10, positioning the brand as an elite choice for food-efficient cars. These carefully chosen goods were only sold at high-end cookware and gourmet stores, making sure that they were bought by discerning customers looking for high-quality cooking supplies. Well-known restaurants like Crate Barrel, Sur La Table, and Chicago's Fox and Oval Market Cafe Garten not only grew her business but also showed her dedication to providing exceptional culinary experiences by letting her cooking fans enjoy their favorite flavors in a convenient, pre-prepared way. The Barefoot Contessa Pantry Collection exemplified her idea that fine cuisine should be easy to access and enjoyable, especially for busy people. After her first three popular cookbooks received high praise for their simple but delicious dishes, she delves further into the. Her most recent book, Barefoot in Paris, not only showed how much she loves French food but also solidified her reputation as a culinary expert. She has also written essays for the Oprah magazine, where she shared her knowledge and tips on how to host parties. As a consultant for the magazine, she was able to reach a wider audience and give readers useful tips and ideas for throwing great parties. From 2007 to 2011, she was a famous writer for House Beautiful, a well-known home magazine, where her regular piece asked. The Barefoot Contessa was a must-read for anyone looking for help. In her column, she answered many questions about cooking, entertaining, and living by drawing on her many years of experience to give wise and useful advice. Her positive attitude and useful knowledge made her a reliable figure in the home and hospitality industries. In addition to writing and coaching, she built her brand by making a small collection of note cards and notebooks to go with her books and connect her cooking ideas with her readers. These items showed how much she believed in sharing recipes and memories with family and friends, which made her connection with her audience stronger. She also shared her writing skills with other cookbook authors by writing introductions for well-known books. Publications like Kathleen King Tate's Bake Shop Cookbook and Rory Travato's Dishing with Style. These gifts showed her support for other chefs and her dedication to promoting great food. Through her many projects, she has continued to inspire home cooks and entertainers alike, leaving an indelible mark on the current food and hospitality scene. From 2005 to 2006, her dish Lemon Roast Chicken with Croutons was featured in Best American Recipes, showing that she could make delicious yet easy dinners. This dish is famous among cooks and food lovers because it shows how she could turn simple ingredients into something amazing. Another one of Garten's favorite meals was included in today's kitchen cookbook, which has the most popular recipes. The recipes from the Today Show. This made her more well-known as a reliable source of tasty, easy recipes that appeal to a wide range of people. During Thanksgiving 2010, many of her recipes were featured on Google's homepage, which raised her image even more in the culinary world. Not only did this unique chance bring her more attention, but it also showed how she had an impact on modern cooking and holiday traditions. In June 2012, Garten entered the digital world by starting a Facebook blog to share her cooking techniques and personal experiences. The response was overwhelming, and she gained over 100,000 followers in just 3 weeks. The fast growth of her online community, which was centered around her cooking tips, showed how well she could connect with fans and food lovers. In 2019, she worked with her friend and fellow author Churn Half to include her famous potato lucky recipe in the children's book Goodnight, Boobala. This sweet act showed not only how good she was at cooking, but also how much she wanted to share the joy of cooking with future generations by making sure that her beloved recipes are passed down to families. Garten has become a beloved. Jeffrey Garten, the famous chef's husband, has had success in government and education. He was Under Secretary of Commerce for International Trade during the Bill Clinton administration and worked on a number of projects that inspired many people to try cooking. From 1993 to 1995, Garten was in charge of setting U.S. trade policy at a crucial time in the country's economic history. He then moved from politics to academia and was dean of the Yale School of Management from 1995 to 2005. His leadership at Yale was instrumental in shaping the next generation of business leaders, and he is widely recognized for his contributions to management. Jeffrey frequently appears on his partner's popular cooking show, where he does a variety of tasks, such as helping with cooking, sharing his knowledge of cooking techniques, and enjoying the delicious food. She prepares the food, and their funny interactions have captivated viewers, showing not only their family ties but also their love for cooking, but also their shared love of food and cooking. The Pennsylvania has a busy life and splits their time between many homes. They have homes in Manhattan where they can experience city life, and escape in East Hampton for fun, and a property in Paris that is renowned for its cuisine and romantic setting. Their varied living situation shows their love for culture, food, and art. Jeffrey Garten is an artist. He used to be involved with the Democratic Party in New York and has always backed different political candidates. He has given a lot of money to the campaigns of many presidents, including George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, John Kerry, and Barack Obama, showing that he is willing to back political candidates. The firm announced a new partnership with a major technology company. In 2004, she put together a fundraiser for Planned Parenthood to help them improve their online services. Other than that, she has mostly avoided public political issues, telling The New Yorker in 2024 that she doesn't think she can change people's minds. Garten also served on East Hampton's Design Review Board, which was in charge of approving building permits, as well as architectural and design features in the community. The goal was to highlight the district's historical authenticity while terrible movement and how she dealt with it. Fatal Challenges said in an interview that she did well in school and did well in her studies, which was a big contrast to her sad home life. However, her father was very mean to her and her brother. Looking back, the 1950s were a very different time. Parents supported their kids' feelings instead of hovering over them like most parents do now. Her dad kept saying that being a parent wasn't about being loved, which he used to defend his strict parenting style that put obedience above all else. This control clashed with her strong need for independence, which made things very tense. She also feared her father. She remembers times when she thought he would hurt her if she didn't follow his rules. The constant threat of violence made her feel scared, and she hid in her bedroom, looking for safety. She later said, "This lack of connections probably helped shape my growing belief in the importance of connections as I got older." She was trying to keep me from helping with the cooking so that she could keep her own space and independence. It was clear that her mother's goal was to help her get to her during the interview. She said it again, turning my room into a shelter. She also said that I made peace with my father when he apologized in his own way, which my mother never accepted. Looking back, I realized that I had done something wrong. Lacked guts when I was younger, I was filled with fear. If I had been brave, I would have stood up to them and told them about my own choices that went against what they expected. Ina didn't want to live that way because many people try to improve their lives but end up going back to their old habits. She was determined to avoid that outcome. Later, she met Jeffrey, who introduced her to a whole new way of life. His transformation was attributed to his constant optimism, friendliness, and supporting each other in this setting was very different from how she had been raised, and she now feels justified in her actions. However, neither extreme is completely true. Realizing how important they were to each other was a key part of their relationship while he was in Thailand or Hong Kong, and Ina was sure that he would put her needs ahead of his own, just like she did for him not having children gave. He always put Ina's goals ahead of his own, making sure she pursued her own interests before his. In one of the book's chapters, she wrote, "I now disclose a never-before-shared experience of briefly being separated from Jeffrey, a detail I hadn't thought necessary to reveal before due to the nature of my cookbook writing career." Since making this discovery, Ina has often said that she has met women who have found it hard to move from traditional husband-wife roles to a more equal partnership. Looking back to the 1970s, it was clear that Jeffrey wanted to get married and have a wife. For example, Ina was supposed to cook while he was in charge of the finances, which duty found annoying. This is clear when she says, "I felt the need to stop and get his." After her first summer working at the shop, AA went back to Washington, D.C., while Jeffrey went on a 3-month trip around the world sponsored by the State Department. Before he left, Jeffrey suggested that they stay in their house while he was away to think about his goals, and Ina suggested that he think about their relationship as well. Even though they planned to meet up in California when he got back, they both went through personal growth and they talked about their goals and how independent they wanted to be with each other. Jeffrey struggled with the idea that, as the spouse, he shouldn't go on long trips. Garten talked about her relationship with Jeffrey and how they rebuilt it over time, building an alliance instead of sticking to traditional roles. Jeffrey has always been a source of unwavering support, she said. In an interview, Ina Garten said, "He genuinely cares about my happiness, and with him there's no room for conflict." She also remembered how Jeffrey approached their relationship from the start with a spirit of collaboration, always looking for ways for them to thrive together while balancing their individual needs and wants. She remembered how it all began when Jeffrey was in the military. While she was still in school, one moment in particular stood out because she was so focused on it. A TV show about a young woman in New York who lives alone. It was 11 a.m. when Jeffrey asked a question that would change everything. I was really into the show, AA remembered. Then Jeffrey turned to me and said, "You need to figure out what you want to do with your life. Without that, happiness will be out of reach." Ina said that she hadn't given much thought to her own goals until that moment. "I had always dreamed of getting married when I was a little girl, and that's what I did. I married an amazing man," she said. But Jeff's advice stayed with her, telling her to think beyond the traditional life she had imagined and start pursuing something she could truly call her own. It was a turning point that changed the course of her life, and she was grateful for Jeff's advice. Thinks about how his support led her to find her real passion. They shared a funny moment that showed how much joy they found in their daily lives. "Jeffrey probably thinks I'm making chicken for dinner tonight, but I'm actually going to surprise him with pastio and Greek lasagna."